Dr. Winters had her hands pressed into the man's head, trying to remove the memories of his special abilities. This was generally easier than getting rid of trauma, just a little bit of selective removal, but it had to be done carefully or you'd risk shorting something out. There would need to be some extra sessions to make sure she got it all, but she didn't think there would be a lot of trouble. Most of them seemed open to being normal again, and that was going to make this easier than it usually was with people who ultimately didn't want to change. They had been working on this for about a week, and when they arrived at the front gates of Stragview and told the woman in the control room that the warden was expecting them, he had laughed and looked surprised. "I had said we would talk about this, but I didn't expect it would be this soon. Might as well get it out of the way. You can technically make good on your promises to one degree or another right here." The warden told the entrance that these two were cleared to come in, and then he led them up the front walk and into the prison. It had only been a few days since they had won the prison back again, but the prison already looked as if it were getting back to something like normal. There were trustees cleaning the sidewalks and making repairs. There were inmates heading to call-outs and work assignments, and the guards were moving briskly to and fro as they kept it all running smoothly. Dr. Winters and Mr. Seraph came in for some long looks, especially the doctor, and when they were finally inside the tower, she was glad for the high walls. Dr. Winters never felt so well and truly scrutinized as she did when she came to the prison. "So, what is it exactly I can do for you?" the warden asked as they came inside, the orange cat he favored meowing and twining around his legs. "I've come to make sure you keep your bargain about emptying out the Underprison," Dr. Winters said, crossing her arms. "And I've come to see if any of them would be willing to sell their talents to me," Mr. Seraph added, sounding much too chipper for this time of the morning. The warden rolled his eyes. "These things take time, sister. We'll need to. All the more reason to get started," she said, smiling at him knowingly. "My schedule in December is often a little more fluid. People are generally more wrapped up in the holidays than they are their own problems this time of year, so we might as well get cracking before the after-Christmas depression starts rearing its ugly head." The warden had started to retort, but had finally laughed and shook his head. "It never does any good to argue with you two. Come along then, let's see what we can get up to." The first few days had been rough. Most of the people down there were getting the leanest sort of rations, and they despised the warden and assumed this was a trick. It took Winter and Mr. Seraph several days to convince them that this wasn't something the warden had orchestrated. And then came the bargaining. They wanted things for their illegal incarceration. They wanted concessions. They wanted reparations. They wanted. And it went on for a while. As they asked and wheedled, Winter and Seraph put them into two categories: those who could be offered things, and slates that would need to be wiped. Mr. Seraph had been making deals and taking talents almost at once, but Winter had to be a little more delicate with her end of things. "The talent on display here is truly remarkable," Mr. Seraph said as they walked out on the third day. "There are talents here I've never seen before, and there are others I'm not sure I can even take. It will be such a task to see if I can take them. I can't wait for tomorrow." "There," she said, as she slid her fingers out of the man's head and moved to sit in front of him. "How do you feel?" The man, his face a mess with gang tattoos and half-healed scabs, opened his eyes slowly and looked around. Where am I? How did I get here?" She had taken to doing her work in the rec office outside the Underprison entrance. If they saw the Underprison, then they would need to be wiped again, and Winter figured a warm and sunny environment might help them not question her cover story. "You slipped while playing basketball. I happened to be seeing patients today, and they called me down to have a look. Do you remember anything?" The man reached into his front pocket and took out his inmate ID. The inmate ID cards had been her brother's contribution. They had put them all in the same dorm, wanting to avoid questions, and it had likely taken someone all night to get all these inmates assigned. Winter couldn't imagine the undertaking that had gone into effect to be ready, but she was glad for it. "Not much. My name's Hector. I guess I'm from E-dorm. How long have I been in prison?" Dr. Winters wiped sweat from her brow internally. It had worked. She hadn't been sure it would, because Hector had been a mess. Hector had anger issues on par with the Incredible Hulk. His father had beaten him and his siblings with anything he could find, and it had led Hector to bottle his anger away and protect his siblings whenever he could. Then, when he was 16, Hector had let that rage out and turned into a completely different person. He'd seen red. At least, that's what his lawyer had told the court. But Hector remembered beating his father to death with his bare hands. If he had stopped with his father, that would have been fine. The problem was that Hector got a bit of a taste for violence. He had started using all that stored anger to do things he shouldn't. He robbed people. He took things. He would pull whole doors off the hinges. And one night, the cops had found him after his rage had subsided and locked him up. He'd broken out, taken the wall off the jail, and that's when they'd sedated him until his trial. Then, once sentenced, he'd gone to a place where they could keep him away from others. Some place he couldn't escape from. Dr. Winters had taken away any memory of the process and hoped he wouldn't figure it out on his own. "I'm not sure, Hector. We've never actually met before, but I'm glad you're feeling better. Feel free to return to the yard or to your bunk if you prefer. I think you'll be okay." "Thanks, Doc," he said, getting up and heading out into the sun. Hector's powers hadn't been something her brother could take, so it had needed to be squashed. "Got another one," Mr. Seraph called up, and Dr. Winters saw him bringing a young black man up the stairs, who appeared to be in a state of dreamless sleep. "Our brother warned me about this one. Apparently he can drain people's life force just by talking to them. Interesting talent, but I can't touch it. I'm thinking you'll have to cover it up if he's ever to live a normal life." Dr. Winters sat him down, offering him tea as she asked him what exactly he did. She was holding the cup out when suddenly the man grabbed her wrist and pulled her close. Dr. Winters had never met James Tiberius Bombicus before, or she would have known to be very careful with his particular bit of fuckery. "What do I do? Well, what I do is steal things. Not real things, not as such, but I steal time. I talk to you for a minute, an hour, maybe even a whole day, and I steal your time and give it to myself. You know, they picked me up in 1945, and I've been at this prison ever since. Whenever I get to feeling a little peaked, I simply take a guard and talk to him, and then I feel so much better. They don't, though. Sometimes they wind up dead. It's better when they're dead. I don't mind killing. In fact, killing is just about the best thing a man can do." He stopped talking when Winter stuck her fingers into his mouth. He tried to bite, but bigger things than him had tried and failed at that. She seized his tongue and yanked, and as it came free, inmate Bombicus screamed and coughed as blood flowed from his mouth. She reached out again, and as he flinched away from her, she grabbed him and put another finger to the stump, sealing it with a single agonizing spark from her fingertips. He continued to scream wetly, and as Winter held his detached tongue, she wondered why she had done that. No, Pamela wondered why she had done that. Winter had no such doubts. She had gotten all she needed to when he had grabbed her. Inmate Bombicus was not like other people in the Underprison. Some of them were bad people. Some of them were winners in the genetic freak lottery. But Bombicus was there because he deserved to be. He had killed, he had taken, and he had enjoyed it. What's worse is that people knew what he was capable of, and he had used it to keep them under his sway. Bombicus had ruled his house as a child, had bent women to his will, and had gotten pretty much whatever he wanted because of the threat of stealing something that no one could prove he had taken. If it hadn't been for the corpse they had found him with, he would still be on the loose, and it was a miracle that anyone had believed him enough to charge him with death. There would be no expunging the power from this man, and no amount of playing around inside his head would make him forget. Taking away his ability would leave him a vegetable, and that might have been for the best, because this apple was rotten. She had taken his tongue because it was the only real weapon he had, and when he lunged at her weakly, she caught him by the throat and held him against the wall. "Listen to me, and listen well. You're a parasite and you deserve to die. But death is too final for someone like you. You will live out the rest of your days knowing that you have the power to revitalize yourself, but not the means. You deserve worse after what you did, but it is not my place to give it to you. Begone, foul creature, and pray our paths never cross again." He ran out then, screaming in that strange, broken way, and Winter let him go, feeling vindicated in a way she rarely did. My, quite the temper you have," the warden said, appearing from the corner as he so often did. "Had I known what a Valkyrie lay within you, I would have—" "Save it," she said, turning to face him. "Tell our brother to send me another one. I want to be done with this place and get home to a nice hot bath." He descended into the Underprison again, but Winter knew this was going to take time. There were nearly 200 inmates in the Underprison, and it was going to take time to fix them all. One way or another, however, they would be freed. Winter would see to that.
Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look and If you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do. And it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.